Remember Jonah, he was sent to Nineveh, and Nineveh was part of the Assyrian Empire. After the Assyrians waned, the Babylonians took over with Nebuchadnezzar as the king. Now this is where it gets interesting. Nebuchadnezzar has the dream of the statue. You may have heard of the statue. And Daniel has come to interpret the dream. In Daniel 2, verses 31 to 33, Daniel describes the statue. Enormous, dazzling. The head is like solid gold. The arms and the chest are silver. The stomach up to the thighs are bronze, the legs iron, and the feet are iron and clay. This is actually a timeline of sorts of the kingdoms and the orders they will come in. The Old Testament ends with the period of Cyrus and the Persians. The New Testament picks up with the Romans in charge. The Christian Bible ends with Malachi, which points to the Messiah, which is where the New Testament picks up. But the Jewish Bible ends with 2 Chronicles, because that's where King Cyrus of Persia points to the rebuilding of the temple for Israel, or the Jews. So Daniel goes on with more. He has, in Daniel 8, a vision of a lamb with 2 horns, and the ram is just like going wherever it wants to go, and it's Medes and the Persians, the 2 horns. Then there's a goat with 1 horn, and that is Greece. The 1 horn is Alexander the Great. So here in Daniel's vision comes the prediction of Greece and the Greek rulers. After the 1 horn breaks off, 4 come in its place, describing the 4 generals that came after Alexander. So we're getting a picture of what's happening. And then pretty soon, some generations down, we have Antiochus IV, which is described as Antiochus Epiphanes in history, but he is called Antiochus Epimanes by popular colloquialisms of the time, meaning the mad or crazy king, as opposed to the God manifest, which Epiphanes meant. So Alexander, with all of his faults, he conquered everything, and he was ruthless in his own way. But when it came to his conquered nations, he was a diplomat. He knew that controlling people by force and fear was probably not going to work in the long run. And so he would make great efforts to appear culturally respectful, and he would sacrifice to the gods of the nations who he conquered, including the God of Israel, the God of Judea. Fast forward to King Antiochus IV. This method of rule, despite being very beneficial in Alexander's day, was completely ridiculous to Antiochus IV, and he thought a firm hand would do the trick. So it should be quicker, he surmised, and for a while he was successful with his ruthless approach. The Jewish people were in 2 groups. There were the reformed ones who were Hellenized and accepted all the ways of the Greeks, and then there were the Hasidim, or the pious ones. And the Hasidim, they said, we want to serve our God, our God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, just like the Maccabees came out of this group. As we continue the story, we'll watch as Antiochus IV sets up a pig dedicated to pagan gods in the Jewish temple. This is the abomination of desolation that we read of in Daniel 11:31. So Daniel goes on with these cryptic ways of talking about the empire of Greece, also talking about King Antiochus IV, because he was going to be so evil and ruthless. It was coming. It was predicted. So we'll see just how costly it was to be faithful, but it was even more costly to be unfaithful.